Good evening, I'm Gadi Schwartz coming to you from the Pacific Palisades, and the amount of devastation we have seen throughout the day is so difficult to describe. So many of us have been covering fires here in California for quite some time. This is by far the worst we've ever seen of any fire here in California, any fire elsewhere as well. Behind me, this is just the tiniest snapshot. You shouldn't be able to see all the way across that two-story building because this used to be a storefront. There was a clothing store here. There were some cafes down the way. Behind me, there was a pizza shop. This is the center of Pacific Palisades, and it's this in every single direction. There is a supermarket that way that is burned down. There's a church just away that is burned down. Right over here, there's an Italian restaurant, a Bank of America that is also gone. Palisades Village, which is across the street, there's a part of it that's still standing, but hauntingly enough, there are some alarms that keep going off, and those alarms say, there is a fire detected in the building, please evacuate. It says it over and over and over again as you look around and you see that many of these buildings, most of these buildings, have been completely destroyed. Right now, we're going to go through the numbers, but the numbers do not do what we're seeing out here justice. We know those numbers are going to go up, so it's almost just a placeholder. But right now, the Palisades fire size, we understand it's 15,000 acres. The Eaton fire, which we were at this morning over in Pasadena, Altadena, near JPL, NASA's facility out there, is about 10,000 acres. We know at the Eaton fire, unfortunately, 5 people have been confirmed dead. We just heard a press conference wrap up recently out there in the last hour or so. We're expecting another press conference for what's happened here in the Palisades, the Pacific Palisades. Mayor Karen Bass back in Los Angeles after being in Africa over the last 24, 48 hours. She made her way back. If we have that up, we're going to take a quick look at that press conference. She's expected to speak any moment. It sounds like the only shot that we have right now is just the podium, and apologies in advance. Communication here is extremely spotty, but as soon as that starts, we're going to try to bring that to you live. Meanwhile, there's another fire that's burning, the Hearst fire. That one's about 500 acres, and that's over the hill in the San Fernando Valley. Last night, if you were watching as we covered the fire here in the Palisades, at the end of our show, we said that this is something that could happen anywhere in the greater Los Angeles area because of these winds, these incredibly ferocious winds. And that's exactly what we saw happen overnight out there in Altadena. That threat continues tonight. We were hoping that the winds were going to calm down. In fact, they were talking about it at the Eaton press conference. All of the crew here, everybody that was listening to it, they heard them say, the winds are a little bit more manageable. And yet, I don't know if you could see, but you see the winds starting to blow once again as night falls up in the ridges. Above us, below us, we still see flames. And those embers yesterday were spotting somewhere up to 2 to 3 miles. And now we understand that there may be evacuations happening down in Santa Monica proper. Palisades is neighboring Santa Monica, the iconic pier there. So we know that people have been evacuating from Santa Monica. One other person that's been out here since last night, incredible reporting all around, is our friend, our colleague Liz Kreutz. I believe she has been traveling up and down PCH, Pacific Coast Highway here, has a lot of reporting out of Malibu. Liz, I can't see you, but I'm hoping I can see you. I'm hoping I can hear you. Liz, are you with us right now?
I am with you, Gadi. Thank you for that. And yes, we are here on the Pacific Coast Highway. And what we're showing folks is that there's still an active fire scene here. I mean, crews are still out here right now. They were putting out the flames. They really just got a handle of the flames here on this home, really trying to make sure it didn't spread to the neighboring properties. We're really, this is just one of hundreds of homes here, thousands potentially here in Malibu that are destroyed, Gadi. Just yesterday, the fire broke out in the Pacific Palisades. And then overnight, the winds, 75-mile-per-hour winds, pushed the flames up the Pacific Coast Highway until it essentially engulfed all of Malibu. And when we arrived overnight, it was an apocalyptic scene. I know you used that word to describe the fires as well, where it was just home after home after home here on the coast, these beautiful homes destroyed and up in flames. And we're showing you over here, this is one of those homes. Right now, you can see that was probably the beautiful yard area, this beautiful ocean view here, the most pristine part of the California coast, and it's now all reduced to rubble. And we're seeing this over and over again. It's just horrific. And, thankfully, it sounds like the worst, absolute worst winds may be subsiding, but that red flag warning conditions, they're continuing through Friday. So there's so many people still on alert.
Yeah, the winds may be subsiding, but, if this was any other day and we were covering a fire and the winds were blowing this hard, everyone would be so concerned. I know that you spoke to Governor Gavin Newsom a little bit earlier. A lot of questions for the governor tonight. What was he telling you?
Yeah, I mean, he was there touring the area where you are in the Pacific Palisades and the villages there, and he was meeting with the mayor who had just arrived from her trip in Ghana. She must have come straight from the airport there, and the senator. And he was essentially saying that he's never seen anything like this. He was comparing it to the Camp Fire, the 2017 Camp Fire, the most destructive fire in California history, the most deadly fire, basically. But he said that, you know, yes, it's like that, but the fact that this fire went so fast in 24 hours and ignited so many fires, he's never seen anything like it. Take a listen to what he had to say. You've been warning for years about mega fires and growing mega fires. Is there anything that could have been done to prevent this?
Well, we had hundreds and hundreds of people were accusing us of being overly hype on this weekend. I put on Sunday night, we had pre-positioned 110 engines down here, hundreds of personnel, especially personnel, dozers, tenders, 7 helicopters we pre-positioned within the first hour of this fire. First hour being on scene, folks from the Bay Area, because we had pre-positioned, we're right here on the scene.
And he said because of all the apparatus and personnel that have come in from around the state and around the country to help with this fire, and in addition to that, the high cost of the homes here that are destroyed, these are multi-million-dollar homes, he says he definitely anticipates that this could be the most costly fire or natural disaster that we've seen in our lifetime, Gadi.
And Liz, I think you've got firefighters behind you using some water to put out some of these hot spots. Water has been such a big concern around here. Earlier in the day, we were seeing fire engines going up to hydrants, checking to see if there was any hydrants or any water in that hydrant so they could fill up their tenders, fill up those trucks. And so often we saw them check, it was dry, and then they'd have to move on. Towards the afternoon, that started to change. We started to see that water flowing. Well, what's the situation like out in Malibu right now?
I mean, right now, we've seen crews being able to use, have water, and that's what they're doing here. We haven't seen that issue, but we have also heard that issue, especially from residents that were saying that the hydrants were dry. And I think that is a huge concern, and I believe Mayor Brass will likely be pressed on that, as she should be, at the press conference coming up. At the earlier press conference today, where she was not at, other officials were pressed on that, and they said that really, at the end of the day, from their take and opinion, it was just that this fire was so big, and there were so many homes that were engulfed in flames that it just stretched the system to the brink. But I think still, like you said, Gadi, a lot of questions on how that's working and the questions for Mayor Bass.
It looks like I finally can see a shot there. It looks like firefighters are trying to control possibly a fire inside of an already burned out home, but there are some homes still standing. Is that what the situation is? And if that's the case, how many homes are still standing there on the ocean side?
Unfortunately, I think if your home is on this part of, on the coast, most of the homes that we're looking at, except for behind me here, you should see this is one stretch where a lot of them were spared, but a lot of them were engulfed in flames, but not all of them. And firefighters, we did see this throughout the night, and what we're seeing now is that they were not trying to put out flames for the most part in a fire that was already a home that was completely engulfed. But they would try and put out the flames in a home that was neighboring a home that was not engulfed. And that's exactly what's happening here, is because we saw the flames earlier. We've been here for a while now, and they came here to get a handle on this to try to spare those homes right next to it. And it looks like they've done a really, really good job, and that those lucky residents there should be very grateful for that.
Yeah, they sure are. And I mean, valiant efforts by those firefighters. But we've been talking to firefighters throughout the day, and you try to say, hey, almost congratulate them when they hold their ground right there, and you can see the sadness in their faces. They look around and they realize, this is the 1 or 2 or 3 homes in a neighborhood that has been completely gutted. And you can imagine people, as they come home, they see their house still standing, the lucky ones, and they see all the devastation. It's going to be so difficult. Liz, hopefully we can check back with you in just a bit. Incredible reporting. I also want to bring in Jacob Sobroff, a good friend of ours. And Jacob, I know you have been through hell today. Just last night, you were out here, you were talking about going to check on your childhood home, where you grew up. I know you did that today. What did you find?
Like so many people here, Gadi, I haven't lived in the Palisades since I was 18, and I haven't lived in the house that was the house I was born and raised in since I was 10. But I went over there this morning, and like so many people, I went there and I found that house is no longer here. And I think that that's the moral of the story when it comes to Pacific Palisades. these 23,000 people that live here in this beautiful coastal community between the Santa Monica Mountains and the Pacific Ocean now largely live in a community that has ceased to exist as we know it. The grocery stores are gone. The local public library is gone. Many of the schools are gone. Some of the places of worship are gone. Behind me is the Methodist Church, which is still going up in flames. This is catastrophic. I talked to the head of CAL FIRE today, and very briefly, Governor Newsom as well, while he was just about to hop on the phone with President Biden. This is maybe one of the most devastating fires in the history of the state of California, certainly in the history of Los Angeles, just for the sheer scope of it. And you know, as a reporter, we try to keep sort of a little bit of a wall up. I was talking about this with Tom Yamas earlier, between the personal and the professional. But in this case, it does intersect for me, and I know a little bit about what so many of these families are going through right now.
Yeah, I mean, one of those families is your family, too. And Jacob, just to give me I've never been here with you. I would have loved to have come back, and you show me the sights in better circumstances, but I'm standing behind, I think this was a clothing store. We're right by, I believe, Casa Nostra was
incredible sympathy and concern about the devastation and the tragedy that our city and county are facing. And I definitely want to send my condolences to the families who lost loved ones, to the families and neighborhoods who lost property. This firestorm is the big one in magnitude. Hurricane-force winds are usually accompanied by rainstorms, but these are hurricane-force winds that are combined with extremely dry drought conditions. To provide context, at 10:20 a.m. yesterday, the Palisades fire was at 10 acres. 12 minutes later, it was at 200 acres. To those who fled their homes, especially those who have lost your homes, our hearts are breaking for you, and we stand with you. I know the world is looking at images of our city's devastation. I have seen the front lines of the Palisades fire, and it is staggering. I've been in constant contact with our fire commanders, with county, state, and federal officials. I took the fastest route back, which included being on a military plane, which facilitated our communications. So I was able to be on the phone the entire time of the flight. We are fighting for you and everyone in Los Angeles. Thank you to our first responders who waded into flames, pulled people from cars, and got them to safety no matter how dangerous. And thank you to everyone who heeded our warnings to evacuate. Tonight, more people may get evacuation orders, and if they do, please leave immediately. If you have an evacuation warning, get ready to go. Protect yourself and each other, and support our firefighters on the front lines. Our strategy included preparations and pre-deployment, and it now includes fire crews from around the state and from our federal partners. We are also adapting in real time. These winds continue to blow. So let me be clear. I am making sure that we leave no resource untapped. Firefighters are now on scene from across the state and across the country. I spoke with President Biden today and Governor Newsom earlier today, and they assured me of full federal and state support. As we head into tonight, we are still facing strong and erratic winds. In Palisades and in Sylmar, we are very much in an active firefight. I can report to you that the Woodley fire, however, in the Sepulveda Basin is under control. I can also report that finally air operations have resumed, and that is a big deal, but it is up to the winds as to how long the air support can continue. But these conditions are highly volatile. We've seen a devastating fire in the Pasadena area. Fires have sparked up in Simi Valley and on the LA and Ventura County line. And as our firefighters do battle on the front lines, all of us must be vigilant. So if you receive an evacuation order, please leave immediately. If you receive a warning, get ready, protect yourself and protect each other, and don't divert firefighters from our strategy. Signals are out and the roads have debris. So stay off the roads unless you are evacuating or have another emergency. Be prepared, food, water, medicine, a bag packed and ready. Again, this is an active situation. And conserve water to the extent that you can. We want to make sure that we are ready if we need more water. But make no mistake, Los Angeles will rebuild stronger than ever. Right now, if you need help, emergency information, resources, and shelter is available. All of this can be found at URL. Los Angeles, together is how we will get through this. Through the heroism of our firefighters, the vigilance of Angelenos, and the spirit of our city. This is a big moment. It is a big moment for all of us to come together, for Angelenos to be united, for Angelenos to be prepared to help each other. This is who we are. LA will rise, and make no mistake, I am confident that we will rebuild. And with that, I would like to introduce LA County Board of Supervisor Chair, Catherine Barger.
Thank you, Mayor, and I want to thank you for your leadership. I know when this first hit, we were in constant contact, so thank you for being a true leader to this great city of Los Angeles. Obviously, as someone who represents the 5th District, we are prone to wildfires, but nothing like what I witnessed today. The Eaton Canyon fire is ripping through a community like I have never seen. It is like a third world country out there. I would ask anyone listening, if you do not need to be in the area and you've been evacuated, please heed the evacuation warning. And if you don't live in the area, please stay away. I was shocked to see people walking around that don't live up there, that are just taking a look at what's going on. We have firefighter and first responders that are trying to do their job, and it's important for us to all support them and make sure that we provide space so that they can get it done. The county has lost many facilities. Our parks, our Eaton Canyon Nature Center, our senior center. I'm sure the sheriff will talk about the fact that we almost lost our sheriff's station, but it's been evacuated. We are going to rebuild. And when we met with the governor and the president, the resources and the promises have been made. And it's going to be our job to deliver. And I am confident, given the resiliency of this great county, working with all of our partners, we will rebuild. And to my friends out there that I have talked to today that have lost their homes up in Eaton Canyon, I am a phone call away, and you are not alone. And to those of you that have lost homes, please reach out for help. You are not alone. It's important for us to recognize that these people have lost everything. In many cases, their entire life savings. So as we move forward, we're going to make sure the Department of Mental Health has resources on the ground. But if you need someone to talk to, reach out. Reach out. Love thy neighbor. So with that, I would like to invite Supervisor Lindsay Horvath up, my colleague who represents the 3rd District, the Palisades Fire.
Thank you very much. Earlier today, I visited the Westwood Recreation Center, where I was able to listen, to grieve, and to be with evacuees in this time of crisis, to also thank the volunteers, but most importantly, to let each person know in this time of crisis that they're not alone. To everyone feeling the anguish of this tragedy, the county will be here for you, no matter what, as we recover from these fires. But we're not out of this yet, and we need to continue to follow all guidance from our emergency personnel. I want to thank you for evacuating, for letting our first responders do their job, and for keeping your loved ones safe. Here are the updates from the 3rd District. Since our last press conference, evacuation orders have expanded into Santa Monica to San Vicente, and evacuation warnings now include Montana to Wilshire, Ocean to 11th. Gas shutoffs are affecting more than 15,000 people in Malibu, from Brentwood Country Club to Pepperdine. A boil water advisory is now in effect for LA County Water Works District 29. This is the Sunset Mesa community from Topanga Beach and Coastline Drive on the south to Shore Heights Drive on the north, and from Topanga Canyon Road to Carbon Canyon Road in Malibu, including communities of Big Rock and Carbon Mesa. For more information about water, you can call 800-675-4357. Barry J. Nydorf Juvenile Hall remains in an evacuation warning area. Should the warning become an order, the chief has developed a plan for safe evacuation. Our young people's safety remains my top priority. Today, we also received agreement from the President of the United States to approve a major disaster declaration, which will include individual assistance and public assistance programs. President Biden, we are so grateful. Additionally, our County Department of Mental Health is activated for mental health resources. You can call the helpline at 800-854-7771 for 24/7 support and mental health resources. We know this is a traumatic time. Please ask for help. The county has also invested additional funding into our 211 system to increase capacity. LASA has activated the Augmented Winter Shelter Program to provide shelter to our unhoused community during this time. LA County Assessor Jeffrey Prang has shared property tax installment deferral applications, misfortune calamity damage reassessment applications, and a disaster relief FAQ for property owners affected by the fires. You can go to assessor.lacounty.gov. The Emergency Network LA is coordinating volunteers. To sign up, go to enla.org. In addition, the American Red Cross and LA Food Bank have all set up specific donation websites that you can access at emergency.lacounty.gov. Downed trees and power lines are impacting public transit service, and I want to thank Chair of our Metro Board, Supervisor Janice Hahn, for her speed and waiving Metro fares on today because of station power outages. But please, if you are in a safe place and you don't need to travel, stay put and stay safe.
And as we're monitoring this press conference that's happening right now, I do want to bring you back out here live. We just heard an explosion up on the hill. The winds are starting to pick up again. We're starting to get embers coming down from the hill. We're right in the middle of the Palisades right now. And one person that watched the conference with this is actually former mayoral candidate and real estate developer Rick Caruso. In fact, Rick Caruso owns the Palisade Village that I'm looking at right now. It's one of the only things that is still standing. And Rick, I hate to be the one to tell you this, but you know, there is still a fire burning on the ridge, and we are starting to see embers coming this way. There are fire trucks staged throughout this area. But first off, I just wanted to get your take. Firefighters are dealing with this low water pressure. Seems like it's come back. But what do you think has been happening here?
What's happening here with fire or with the water pressure?
With the water pressure in particular.
Well, I mean, clearly there's been some mismanagement, miscalculation that started with the fact that, you know, we've got fire hydrants that don't have adequate pressure. Last night didn't have any water. And so we've got to ask some very tough questions. You know, what went wrong? What wasn't prepared for? And the fact of the matter is it wasn't managed right. It probably, you can't prevent the fire, but they could have mitigated a hell of a lot of the damage. So the way I look at it, there's a lot of businesses and a lot of homes that probably